There we go. I think we have sound now. Are we good on sound, Royal Nomi? There's some sound. Is it too low, too high? Okay, good, good. So yeah, I'm going to start streaming on Saturdays as well, just because I have way too many projects going on at the moment. It's not going to be every Saturday, but it will be 2, 3 times a month. Just because I do have some prior commitments already on Saturday with some of the other things that I do in life. So I wanted to just get together and show off some recent prints, kind of review the status of the Prusa Mini upgrades, and go ahead and get started on the next project, which is going to be an Ender 3 Pro to Voron Switchwire conversion. I did find a donor machine for that, so we're going to go ahead and get that started. You may see I've been working the last night and today trying to get a turntable going so I can display these prints a little bit better. So this is Turtleman low poly cars. This is a Corvette Stingray. The body itself is printed in silver blue dual silk by Polymaker, and the wheels were printed in sparkle black from Polymaker, and the wheels were actually printed on the Prusa Mini. So give you an idea, the Prusa is up, it is printing. In fact, it is in the process of printing right now, and we'll come back to this a little bit later, and I'll probably have to post a picture just because I don't have a way of zooming in over there just yet. But I was reviewing a recent video by 3D Printing Nerd, and he had this print of a paddle wheel or steamboat benchy, and I just thought it looked awesome. So I went out and found it on printables, and I'm getting a print started at 200%, and it fits well on the Mini. So yeah. So once again, this is the Stingray, Corvette Stingray split window, and it was in the Prusa blue silver dual silk. Now this one is the Nissan, I think it's the G34. Once again, these low polys really look good, especially with the with them being the faceted low poly, and you print them out in the silk, they really shine. And then I like the contrast with the black parts for the wheels and the wings on these. We also have, let me see, I'm trying to remember which one this one is. I believe this is the Subaru. Yeah, I believe this is the Subaru one. And yeah, like I said, the that dual color silk just really pops, especially with the lighting and the way it hits on those facets. It's just really cool. And then we've got a BMW M2. And once again, these are Turtleman low poly prints off of printables.com. And the nice thing with some of these prints is he's remastered them so that they use 608 bearings. And so the bearings are just shy of the wheels. and it allows those wheels to roll very easily. And then we've got some Cinderwing steampunk insects. This is the ant. And these I just thought were really cool. I like the steampunk thing, and you know, kind of like some cyborg type stuff, some biomechanical stuff. So seeing these come out, I thought were really cool, and I believe she's going to have some more in the collection. So we have the ant here. We also have a beetle, and this one is pretty cool as well. And we also have a dragonfly. Unfortunately, my dragonfly, I will throw it over here, but I did break one of the wings off when I was trying to get it up off the print bed. So it is down a wing. But yes, these prints I think are really, really cool. And doing them in any type of silk. Once again, this is the blue silver silk, but doing it in any type of silk is just going to really make it shine and shimmer, which is really cool. I think it would be really, really cool if I can get an MMU or some type of multi-material print going to be able to print, you know, like the main body in a chrome or something, or like a gold, and maybe do a bronze for some of the gears. I think that would be pretty cool too. Okay. So one of the other cool prints that we did was the Flexi Kitty, and this is a new one. Hey Rob8954, how are you doing today? Once again, sorry for the late notice. I decided yesterday that I was going to stream. I made a post out to Twitch, and then started making the rounds this morning, adding notices to the various Discord boards. And then I realized that my Twitch notification didn't go out as I expected. My OBS had hung, so had to update that. So we've just been going through and looking at some prints. Once again, this is a Flexi Factory cat, and this is printed in the blue silver silk from Polymaker. I'm sorry, I don't know the actual name that they've given to it. Just because it's sitting on the printer downstairs, I can't easily take a look and grab it. But yeah, these are really some cool prints coming out of Flexi Factory. We also have a Flexi Squirrel. This is one that you may have seen me post on Twitter before. I actually took this one. Yeah, the colors are amazing. I cannot remember off the top of my head which one. This is not Polymaker. I believe this might have been a Yusu dual or tricolor silk filament. I printed this one a while back. I'll have to dig up my Twitter post and find it. But it was really cool because I took this one with me when I went hunting out on my property. And after I got down out of the stand that day, I went back, grabbed it out of the truck, and went back in the woods and took a picture of this actually sitting on a tree out in the woods, which was, I thought, pretty cool from a photo staging perspective. And yeah, it's definitely hard to remember all the filaments. At some point, I'm going to start writing it down in a book. But yeah, I posted this one up and tagged, I keep wanting to say Sith Lord Brit, but she's now, Creatix Brit. She's always going to be Sith Lord, for her daily scroll sightings. So that was kind of a fun one, and she got a kick out of that one too. And then I also I have a friend that's really into rats, so I thought, this one just hit me. So this is a Flexi rat skeleton from Flexi Factory as well. Same color silk as the squirrel was done in. And yeah, like I said, it was definitely a Yusu, but I can't remember if it was the dual or tricolor and which set it was. But yeah, this is a pretty cool little Flexi one as well. So Rob, you got in a little bit late. I do want to show you one or two of these again. So this was one of the Turtleman low polys. This is the, I believe this is the Nissan G34. The low poly body itself was printed in the blue silver dual silk on my 0G, which is an Ender 5 converted to the Mercury 1 Core XY gantry system, and it also has the Hydra triple lead screw kinematic bed setup. And the black parts here were printed on the Prusa Mini that we recently modified on the last stream that I did on Tuesday. So, and I think these came out really, really cool. So, with that last stream, we had upgraded the Prusa Mini to a Revo Micro hot end and the Bondtech extruder with the integrated filament sensor. So we moved the filament sensor from being on, that external piece of tube that sat out the side and made for a really long entry point for the filament to the internal filament sensor. And the nice thing about that is that enabled us to gain about 180 millimeters more of usable filament before the sensor triggers. And I have done, let me pull this real fast, a dual color print on it, which required a filament change. And so it's just a standard layer change for the filament. I really wish I could get this to focus decently. But it worked out really well. I'm going to have to swap this camera out and get another 922. Let me see if it shows up a little bit better here. But yeah, this came out really, really well. Didn't have any problems with the layer change at all. I did initially have an issue with some filament loading, but it just, I had to pull the extruder back off and really play with it and loosen, just really deal with the tensioning of the bolts in the paddle that triggers the filament sensor. And once I got that kind of dialed in, it really helped out. And so right now I do have a print going on it. And we'll check back on it later as it gets a little bit higher. But it's the it's a paddle wheel or steamboat style benchy. And I got the idea when I was watching a 3D printing nerd video yesterday, and he was going over some old prints that never made it on his streams. And I saw it and I was just like, oh, that thing is amazing. So I'm going ahead and printing that out. And once that is done, I will definitely take some imprint videos of it and go ahead and take some final prints or pictures of the print as well. But that was a really fun upgrade. Once again, it was the Revo Micro hot end, which allows me to use the Revo nozzle system. And I do have a couple of the nozzle packs. So I have the 0.25, of course the 0.4, the 0.6, and the 0.8 nozzles. For the Mini, I will probably just go to a 2.5 or a 4, depending on what I'm trying to print that day. But it's nice having that Revo ecosystem because I'm running a Revo hot end on the Prusa Mini, the Switchwire, the Dbot Core XY, Purple Haze has a Revo nozzle in it. And I want to say one of my other Mark IIIs down below has a Revo nozzle in it as well. So yeah, it's really nice. You can, to be able to swap nozzles out. So I don't need a different set of nozzles for each system. They're real easy to change out. And I was able to get my hands on a couple of the 0.6 Obsidian nozzles. While I didn't make it to Earth, there's a local store here in town that sells some 3D printing stuff. They carry Wham Bam, they carry Capricorn, eSun, Subatomic, and a couple of other filament brands. I think some KVP filament as well. And they also had the some Revo nozzles, or excuse me, the Obsidian nozzles for the Revo, because they went to Earth and bought some while they were there. So that was really cool. I was able to pick up a couple of 0.6 nozzles, and I do have 2.4 and 2.6 nozzles on pre-order with E3D. So once they finally get the issues with their production line squared away, I'll have a few more of those that I can swap around and print some abrasives with, which is nice because I do have some glow-in-the-dark filament which will tear up some nozzles. I have some carbon fiber PETG, some carbon fiber ABS, some carbon fiber PLA, so it's good to have the ability to run abrasives without having to do some physical nozzle changes here and there. And so the next project that I have, I wanted to get started and get a few things going to jumpstart this project, is going to be a Ender 3 Switchwire build. So I do have a donor frame here. It's a standard Ender 3 Pro frame. I was originally planning on just converting my Ender 3, which is in the Wham Bam enclosure, over to a Switchwire. But the one mod that I've seen out there that still uses the 2040Y rail, I'm still not sold on it as far as the y-axis itself on it and some of the other bits and pieces, because it does do a short frame face versus the long one that I did on this Switchwire. And the way you get the longer frame is by using some printed pieces, and together, they will mount through a screw right here, as well as a bracket that'll hold them together, which does make this a pretty rigid piece. And it gives you a nice Voron side logo as well. And that extends the front out, which gives you a full coverage out to the front of the printer piece, where your wide idler will go. And so I like that a little bit better. And I will go ahead later today or tomorrow and go ahead and cut the deck panels for this. so that Tuesday when we come onto the stream, I'll be able to add the deck panels, which will be pretty nice. So far, all I've done is taken the frame itself and put it together. What I did was it came pretty disassembled. Normally the base is still intact, but I got this as a donor machine off of eBay, and they had pretty much had the sides completely off. There was like one of the screws holding the electronics compartment in, so I disassembled it and I took the frame out to the kitchen where I've got a marble countertop that I know is smooth and flat, and got it as straight as I could. There is a bit of a wobble, not much. It shows up more on this table because it's just a melamine surface, which isn't really flat. But once again, there will be rubber feet on this, which will also help get that squared away. But I did use the square and get the upright square and square this off as best I can down on the kitchen counter, which is marble. I'm still trying to get, source like a quartz or some type of flat stone tabletop that I can use to help when I do these builds out here. So, like I said, I did want to get this jump started. One of the other things that I did to kind of get things prepped a little bit is I did go through and start putting in all of the heat set inserts, because I know watching heat set inserts, you may see me do a few here and there, but hopefully those will just be where I've missed along the way. So I did go through and try and get some of the heat set inserts done up. And one of the other things I did when I did my other Switchwire build here, I did use the Y motor, and the Y motor has a pressed on tooth pulley. And the nice thing about using the Ender 3 motors, especially for the X, Y, and Z motors, is it's a plug and play with the actual cables, right? So I can reuse the motor cables and not have to worry about, are the pinouts the same and so forth. When I did the other Switchwire back here, I used some parts built motors for the AB or XZ motors, and lo and behold, the pinout was different, so I did have to find the right pairs and swap the cables, the cable pins, and that could have just also been, I used a Manta board for that one, where this one I'm going to use E3D, or I'm sorry, a Big Tree Tech SKR Mini E3V3 and a standalone Raspberry Pi in this, where on the other Switchwire over here I used the Manta M4P with the CB1 module, so it was an all-in-one board solution, which turned out really well, by the way. I'm really liking that setup going forward. It's just one less thing. You don't have to have a buck converter or a separate power supply or a separate DC to 24 step down. I think it's just a cleaner install, reduces a lot of the install headache. So I haven't decided if I'm going to go ahead and use this one. When I do, the belt has to ride really close to the edge of the pulley here in order to align. So I will see if I can get it to align right, and if I feel like there's too much friction there, then what I'll do is swap out. This is going to be a larger motor, but this is it does have the D cut out there to make it easier, and I'll be able to run a standard 16 tooth pulley or 16 or 20 tooth pulley in it. So we'll see how that goes and how it lines up. But with that, I'm going to go ahead and get started on the build. And one of the first things that you do is lay this thing over on its side, and you start doing the install of the linear rails on the side here. We'll see if I can't get it all in frame. Yeah, probably not going to be an easy way here, with the way I've got the camera set up. Once again, this is a C270 that I'm using for my bench camera, so eventually I'm going to swap these out and upgrade as I start streaming more and get into this a bit. Now the other nice thing I like about this is they have the top covers that really they provide an end stop that'll prevent the motor and the carriages from coming up and potentially popping off at the top and the bottom. So that's another thing I like about this dark dog build. And I will provide a link to that down in the description in my next video. But it's known as the Dark Dog build. I will add it to a post in Twitter, as well as in the description of the next video for the GitHub links. I am doing the Rev 2 files just because when Steve Builds was doing this mod for an Ender 3 Pro, he made several suggestions, and Dark Dog, I mean, he actually posted some of those changes that day to the GitHub repo. So he was making those changes on the fly to the GitHub repo, which I thought was really cool and really helped to get these things moving along. So one of the things actually I'm going to do before I get the frame up here is get the linear rails prepped for these. And the linear rails that I went with are from Fabrico, and they are honey badger rails. I used them on the 0G build, and I really liked them. And the nice thing with the honey badger rails is they come pre-greased. They use mobile EP2 grease, and other than the fact that there's just a lot of extra and you wind up having to clean it out some, they really are good rails. Hey Blacksmith Pop, how's it going? Thanks for joining the stream. Once again, I'm getting ready to just start the build of the Ender 3 to Switchwire conversion. And once again, I am using rails that I got from Fabrico. These are the Honey Badger rails, and these are actually not as bad on the excess lube. These are pre-lubed, so I don't have to clean them and lube them. I did use Honey Badger rails for my 0G build, which is a Ender 5 conversion to, well, the Mercury 1 is a Core XY gantry system for it. And then I also have the Hydra. Hey, Titan's Revenge, how's it going? Thank you for joining. I do have the Hydra as well, which is a triple lead screw kinematic bed mount for it. And so when I got those rails, I wound up having a lot of excess lubricant. So I figured I was going to have to do some cleanup on these, but these, there's a bit on this one. Not a ton, but a little bit. I really should have my scissors over here. Yeah, so when they lube these, yeah, so this one they lube, but it looks like they cleaned it out afterwards. But when they lubricate these, they have some good preload on them, but they also go in and really pack the EP2 grease in. And so you'll see here how much grease is there, because what they do is they'll pull the carriage up and they'll go in through one of the back holes and really squirt in some EP2 to really pack these bearings. So just a little bit of cleanup work to get some of that excess lubrication off. And I find what I try and do, and I normally steal one of the picks from my wife's cry cut to do this, so don't tell her. I don't have it at this point, but what I do is rather than let all this excess grease go to waste, I normally will dig it out and then add some more right along the groove of the rail, just to make sure that the balls are really lubricated and have enough lubrication within the rails themselves, just to make sure that they're sliding nice and good. Once again, I just take it and take some of that excess and just get it down in the rail groove, and then I'll work the slide back and forth. So Titan, what have you been up to lately? I know that you stream a lot during the weekdays, and I haven't been able to get on and listen lately, just because I've got a new I have a new position at work, and I'm in way too many meetings now. I just took over as a management position at work, so way too many meetings. Yeah, I did notice that your streams are somewhat colorful, which isn't a bad thing. It's pretty good. It's pretty fun to get in there and listen to some, because there's times when I want to, let's just say, use some colorful language at work and I can't. So listening to somebody else getting on and going a little nuts sometimes is not necessarily a bad thing. Yeah. Give me 1 second. I'm going to come around here and grab my scissors. There you go. That slides out easier. Okay, good. Yeah, so once again, the Honey Badger rails are nice. They come cleaned and pre-lubricated, and it's a good lubrication. They do use the mobile EP2. It's not like that thin crappy oil that you get from China that comes over and you just feel like you need to, spend a week cleaning everything and taking a bath all the time. So okay. Yeah, I was wanting to start streaming around the Christmas break, just because I had a couple of weeks off at work, and I wound up not starting streaming because my son came out and stayed with us for about 2.5 weeks. So, do the dad thing, hang out with the son, and not start streaming. But yep, good times. Definitely spend time with the family and take the time to recharge. It's always a good thing. Right, and this one was definitely packed. And once again, all I'm doing is taking some of this excess lube that was in on this particular rail, and I'm just getting it down in the groove to try and make sure that the balls have plenty of lubrication in there. And the other thing that I try and do is, once I get these mounted and everything, I've got some PTFE based like light oil, and I will take that and just put a couple of drops on the rails and wipe the rails themselves down with that, just to provide some protectant so that the rails don't start rusting or anything. Yeah, and like I said, I've got some, I'll say, Amazon Chinese specials. I haven't gotten any linear rails directly off of like AliExpress or anything like that. I normally get them off of Amazon just because I don't like waiting as long. But the when you get those, they're really just packed in a light oil, and you really have to take them apart and do a lot of work to get them to work right and not crunch, and to the point where I've actually went out and purchased extra balls, and I just wind up swapping the bearings themselves out. Oh really? PTFE oil on the lining of your resin vats. Does that just make cleanup easier, or what does that do for you, Titan? Oy. Sorry about that. Okay, reduce the suction. Okay, I know my buddy has a Mars 3 Pro, and he said that he's in the process of switching stuff out, the FEP out for InFEP, basically for the same thing, that it helps, it's a lower friction coefficient, so it doesn't suction down as bad. And I've got a Mars 2 Pro and a wash and cure station that he got me for Christmas, which is kind of cool because I got him into 3D printing and got a couple of printers for him. He started off building a Castle Mini, and of course your first 3D printer is a build, and okay. So you use the NFEP and the PTFE as well? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so I had gotten him a Castle Mini, or he had started building the Castle Mini, and I printed the parts for him to get started. And he was having various issues trying to get it tuned in and everything, and he was starting to get frustrated. So I went out and got him a Focus. And I figured the Focus Odin 5F3, I was like, okay, well, I've seen a lot of good things about that on various streams, Loyal Moses and stuff, and got him that. The extruder wouldn't spin. And I was like, what is going on here? And I quickly troubleshooted that it was the extruder, because I brought over one of my my other extruder or other motors, plugged it right in, and it worked fine. So yeah, yeah, the replacement parts, you can get like the ribbon cables and stuff like that. You can get the spares kit fairly easily through Amazon. But yeah, in this case, the extruder motor was bad, and the extruder motor itself is an odd size. So you can't just slap any other motor there because the the controller board mounts to the back of the motor, the toolhead board. Hey, Stephen Poole, how's it going today? Um, so yeah, if you do that, you can't put the shroud back on it, so your cooling fan shroud and stuff doesn't work right. So I talked to Dora. She shipped me a new motor from China, which took forever. So meanwhile, yeah, you have to basically get a whole hot end kit. And so I went ahead and got a Ender 3 Pro off of eBay and made sure I opened the box, made sure it fully worked because, you know, the Focus, it was a brand new in the box printer. I sat there and helped them build it and everything, and then it didn't work. And I felt like this small. So I was like, crap. So I brought the Focus back and I worked on it. Got him an Ender 3 Pro off of eBay, got it put together, made sure it worked, and took it over to him, and it's been printing great. In fact, now he's gotten the modding bug, so he's adding some linear rails and stuff to it for the y-axis. And the Focus, he's actually started designing a brand new hot end for it because he's gone through like 3 ribbon cables, and he's had it 6 months. Yeah, that's the thing is Creality as a company has done some swickety things. Like I will not do anything that uses their cloud service. I will not like their was it the Sonic pad or whatever their clipper pad is. I'm not gonna use that. I just clipper them myself. But they do make good base frames. And like I said, for this particular build, my initial plan was I wanted to upgrade my OG Ender 3, which has the 2040 y-axis. And I was like, okay, well, I want the 4040 y-axis because I think it's more stable. Yeah, I found one place on eBay where I could get the just a cross member and the Y rail. They wanted $90 plus shipping. And I was like, for that, I can get a full one that's used. It's probably broken down. It's got some, some wear and tear and some love marks on it. But that's fine for me. And I got the whole thing for under $90. So now I have plenty of extra spares and stuff. But once again, I figured I was going to have to do some extra cleaning on these rails. I don't. So let's go ahead and get started mounting one of these rails. I'm trying to figure out a good angle here because I want to try and show. Yeah, I'm gonna fight this camera. But the nice thing is they've got these little clips, and what I do is I pop these clips out and move them one end because you always skip that. You skip holes when you put these on. I'll go ahead and just set that on there. These do have these top brackets, which are nice because they slide right over the end. And we'll cover it up just nicely. And I guess before I get going too much, I need to start getting my rolling nuts in. Yeah, Sharpie, or I could spray paint the frame if I really wanted to go really crazy on it. But like I said, these definitely make good starting points. And these rolling T-nuts, they work great, but sometimes they lock in well, sometimes they don't on these V-slot frames. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to doing some resin printing. I know it's going to be a different, I'll say, way of doing things. And I'll have to get used to a new workflow and stuff with them. But really, I think what's going to happen is my buddy's going to get his miniature. So what's happening is my buddy's doing miniatures for right now. He's just doing some consignment miniatures, and eventually his goal will be to do some, start doing them for the local gaming shop in town. And he's already got some of his own designs started so that he doesn't run into any copyright issues. And he's been doing a commission right now for a friend of his who hit him up and just said, hey, I'd like to commission a set. So he's got his first commission going, and what I'll do is I'll just basically take his files that he's got going for whatever he's got on his Mars 3 and get them going on my Mars 2. That way we can just ramp up production. Uh-oh, did I lose the stream or did I lose you? Video froze? Okay. All right, good. Yeah, so I live out, I'm not like in the sticks, but I do live out in the country here in North Carolina. So my internet does leave a little bit to be desired. So what I'm doing here is I put the screws in, and I'm just going to lay that next to the rail to use that to line up the drop-in nuts. And then when I get it put on, I'll slide it up into place. Yep, Titan. I'm in North Carolina. I'm in the Raleigh area, down in Sanford. What part of NC are you in, Titan? Okay, in Wilmington. Gotcha. Yeah, we also have what's the name? Mark H&H is somewhere here. I think he may be around the Charlotte area. Yeah, so what I did is I just tightened these down to make sure that they grabbed, and then I backed them off. And I'm going to slide it up into this top piece here, which, like I said, goes right around the rail. And then I also have some 2020 rail guides. And so I will take these and put those on. and that'll make sure that my rail itself is centered on the extrusion. I can get them actually to sit down on there. Push that up, and now I know I'm centered, and then I start tightening it down a little bit at a time from the inside out. Just snugging them up. And I'll come back and do an ugga-dugga. So I've got these, you know, they look very generic, but these are the Bond Haas. And of course I use the 3mm, or I think it's 2.5mm one, so much for the 3mm button head screws that I've completely worn the silk screen off of it. And before I forget and move this around, we also have some end stops that'll cover up that bottom, that'll keep the carriage from popping off. So go ahead and get one of those in as well. And all these are going in with M3 button head screws right now. I'll just push that up tight. Tighten that down. And I will go ahead and remove these clips now. Yeah, I was building the 0G and I forgot to remove one of these. And then I was troubleshooting a lead screw binding issue, trying to figure out what was causing the binding. And it was just, you know, me forgetting to remove a piece. And before I forget, I'm going to grab that PTFE oil. Sorry, I keep rolling off stream. And like I said, I just put, you know, a dab on it. And then just spread it out. You don't want a really thick coat, you just want a little light coat of oil on it, just to keep the rails themselves from rusting. Shouldn't have a problem with stainless steel, but better safe than sorry. So, one down. One more to go. Yeah, there's a lot of, you know, like I said, I found quite a few people here in North Carolina that do 3D printing. So there's, over here in Raleigh, there's a, I know there's a maker group in the Triangle area, as well as I know there's one in Charlotte. I haven't done too much with them. So we got that there. Let's get these preloaded. Oh yeah, yeah. Well, it'd be great if, you know, we have the Midwest Rep Rap Fest in Goshen. We've got Rocky Mountain going on in Denver in April. Goshen in late June, I believe it is. And then of course Earth. But we don't have anything like in the South or more southern. So that would probably be a cool thing, is to try and do something a little more southish. Yeah. Who all's going to Murph this year? Oh yeah. And I think now that some of the COVID restrictions and stuff are coming off everywhere, some of these gatherings may be a little bit easier to set up and get going. But okay. So far, I've been relatively lucky. So Rocky Mountain is in Loveland, Colorado, which is on the west side of Denver, and my my mother-in-law lives in Denver, in Aurora. So I'm planning on going to Rocky Mountain and just flying out and staying with my mother-in-law while I'm out there, and then Murph, my son, my younger son, to the Rocky Mountain or to Murph? Royal Nomi. Okay. Well, that would be awesome. That would be great to see people. So, gotcha. So, did I completely miss it, or okay, that one's slipped. Yeah, so Rocky Mountain, my mother-in-law lives out there, so I'll be able to go out and stay with her for that one. For Murph, my youngest son, literally used to live like 5 minutes or less from the Murph location, from the Murph venue. So I drive out there the weekend before, and I work from home anyhow, so I drive out the weekend before, and I just work from his place, and then go over and spend Friday, Saturday, and sometimes Sunday morning at Murph, and then drive back home. It's like a 13-hour drive, which is the only part that sucks. But Earth, I didn't go to last year just because I have this aversion to Maryland after being in the military for so many years. Nothing against Maryland people themselves, but too much. One, it's too close to the Beltway for me, and then two, I've driven through it so many times because I used to take, when I was in Germany, I'd take Mac flights, fly in, and wind up always having to go through Baltimore to try and get anywhere. And even like a Wednesday night at 11 p.m., there's traffic, and it's like bumper to bumper traffic. It was just crazy. I can't deal with that anymore. So okay, Royal. Yeah, I need to go and get plane tickets for um, to Denver for that period of time. And unfortunately, I came from Colorado Springs, and the reason I moved out here was for health reasons. I've got really bad asthma, and with all the fires that they kept having there and everything, I was getting hospitalized like 3, 4, 5 times a year with asthma exacerbations. So I went out there and spent, I want to say it was like a week, and went and saw some of my old coworkers and stuff down in the Springs and just hung out and with everybody. And I took a shower the night before I was flying home because I was going to be coming home on like a red-eye flight. And I took a shower, and for whatever reason, I just could not get warm. Like literally, I was in sweatpants, a sweatshirt. I had socks on. I had a blanket over me, and my teeth were literally chattering. And it was so weird. Wound up going to the hospital, and of course the hospital that I went to was close. Didn't have beds to check me in, so I wound up getting transported at 2 in the morning in a snowstorm to a different hotel, which was fantastic. And yes, I'm being facetious there. But long story short is they chalked it up to another asthma exacerbation. And so I decided that if I ever go out to Colorado, that I'm on a 4-day limit, and it can't be during an active fire. So hopefully there's no active fires there this year during Rocky Mountain Rep Rap Fest. If there is, I will probably still try and do it. But yeah, it's going to be a fly out on Friday and then fly back home on Sunday type of deal. Oh, by the way, all of these parts are printed in KVP ABS. The blue is a sparkle blue ABS. So I like it because it's got a little bit of sparkle, but it's not really it's not a major sparkle. And then the darker parts are a graphite color. It looks kind of black, but it's not black. It's actually like a charcoal gray, which is really, really nice. Okay, so I got this. I'm going to put a little bit of oil on that. Like I said, it doesn't take a lot. Okay, so those are done. And actually I'm going to keep it on its side because the next rails are the, let's see if I can't turn this a bit, will be the y-axis rails that go on here. So we'll go ahead and get some rolling nuts in there. How long of a drive is that for you, Nami? And all of these linear rails are 300 millimeter MGN 12 H carriages. Old man had to figure it out. Okay. You just celebrated your 23rd birthday, right? And once again, I'm not too concerned with the actual position of the rail of where I'm mounting it at right now, because I will move it once I get it mounted. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, to me, women are always in their 20s or 30s. It's always a safe bet. But yeah, I agree with you. In my 20s and 30s, I was making all kinds of stupid decisions. And this rail gets slid all the way to the front. I just use my finger. And because this is a 2040, I've got some 2040s that I will use to get these in place. Once again, I'm just snugging these down. And then once I get them all snugged, I'll come back and crank on them. Do the ugga-duggas. And I did not think about this. I probably should have been putting some blue Loctite on all of these, but I didn't. And now I'm going to be too lazy to go back and take it all apart and redo it with some blue Loctite. So we're just going to hope that it's not going to rattle itself apart. Okay, so one down, one to go. So what I will normally do here is I will lock one side down. I will get my my two-piece Y carriage together, and then I will align the other rail basically using the carriages, and that way it'll prevent any binding from happening. And I will leave the stop blocks on here because if I don't, I pretty much guarantee you I will drop a carriage. So, Titan, what is it that you print on your resin printers? Are you just doing like miniatures? Or are you doing busts? Or what are you printing on your resins? Hey, John Strand, welcome in. So I know this was kind of a late notice stream, but I just decided I had enough projects going on around the office that I needed to start streaming a little bit more, just to try and get ahead of some things. So I tried to put it out there on Twitter and several Discord boards just to let people know what I was up to. So the microphone's kind of low. Okay, let me see if I can't. Is that a little bit better? Not really. Okay. Give me 1 second. It could also just be that I'm trying not to talk way loud, but make sure it's not sitting down in the tuck of my chin. Okay, I will go ahead and increase it a little bit more, see if that's a little bit better. Should be. Yeah, it should be coming from the lav mic. Yeah, I'm using OBS. And right now I'm using OBS and StreamerBot, And my plan is to probably switch over to Own 3D Pro moving forward. And I know I said my plan is to get the carriage on here and then use that to kind of dynamically align, but what I want to do is try and at least get this initially locked down at one end as close as possible. There we go. Yeah, I saw that you had switched over to Owned, which is, I'll be honest, where I got the idea to look into it, because I really do need to, up my game a little bit and get a starting soon screen and some other stuff, and I just haven't had a chance to really dig into it too much. John, that's interesting because I do find that as well, because I listen to YouTube videos a lot, and when I have YouTube and Twitch going, I really have to turn YouTube like way down and then raise Twitch way up. Oh, solar helped you with all that? That's good to know. That is good to know. So right now we've got the Y rails installed with the stops. We've got our X rails installed. What we're going to do is I need to put on your bed brackets here, they take an M5 nut, and so I'm using M5 lock nuts on these just to make sure that they don't pop out. And so you just have to get those embedded before you put your part on, otherwise you'll be taking your part back off again. I'm just working on making sure it's seated all the way down in there. All of the parts that I'm using here were printed on my Voron V0. So baby blue right here, and I can't tell you how much I love that little machine. For printing ABS parts, it's a godsend because it's small and it heats up really fast. Yeah. John, these are honey badger rails, and they come pre-lubed. They clean them and pre-lube them with EP2, and then what I do, because they normally they'll lube them, they'll lube the carriages before they put them on, and then they will take it over one of the holes and squirt in from the back and really pack it with grease. And then what I tend to do is I'll pull it forward of that point and dig out the grease. I normally use the pick that comes with my wife's cry cut, but I was using just my tweezers, and I would dig out that grease and add it to the groove itself to make sure that the groove itself is really greased up. And then once I'm done, I go over the rails themselves with a little light bit, just a light coat of a 3-in-1 PTFE lubricant. And that's really just to try and keep the rails themselves from rusting. I'm like, what is, like, words, Luke, words. So the rail that goes on the left side is the one that's got the kick out on it that I just sent flying. So give me 1 second to go dig that out. Really need to put a backstop back there. That has the kick out here, because what's going to happen is this part will mount to it, and that'll become the cable chain mount for the bed. And these are, once again, the standard M3x8s. Well, John, let me put it, in doing Voron builds, I watch a lot of Nero 3D. I watch a lot of Steve builds. I've watched a lot of different builds to include Modbot, Greg's Maker Garage, and I have also built one of these before. So this is not my first go around on this one, and I made sure to review the CAD drawings to make sure I had the the right screws for the job at hand to make this part a little bit easier. Guess it would help get it on camera. So what I'm doing is I'm not cranking these down. I'm just starting to get them threaded in so I can feel that the threads have caught. And then once I'm there, I start locking them down in a crossing pattern. Hey BC, how's it going there, sir? Okay, we got one side. And we'll now get the other side mounted. I can figure out a good angle here. Okay. Tweaking your enclosure boxes. Oh, okay. This is the custom enclosure for the CR10. Hey Nordic Skull, how's it going? Thank you for joining. See, I'm starting to feel like I'm making it somewhere somehow now that I've got, the Stephen Poole and John Strand and all these cool people up in here in BC, and everybody's coming to visit me. And Royal Nomi, I can never forget Royal Nomi. Yeah, the CR10 build. Okay. Okay. Well, thank you, BC. Yeah, so I'm just tightening that down, and like I said, what my plan is there are two pieces that will go in here to join these. These are the belt tighteners, and so I will put these in temporarily just to make this one solid piece, and then I will just keep going back and forth, and that will align the second rail to the first. Okay, and that way I shouldn't run into any alignment issues. And that's the one I forgot, is I need some, I didn't forget, they were just right here. I think these were M16 or M3 by 16 screws. Yeah, 16 will definitely do it. Apparently those are a lot deeper sockets than I thought. And so once again, I'm just temporarily attaching the belt clamps, as that would provide a good locking mechanism to the split plates. And one of the reasons, so when Steve Bills was doing this is one of the suggestions that he had made, was to do a split Y bed carriage. And the reason being is if you have any deviations in your print, it's going to give you some problems as you're trying to align these rails, and you could run into binding issues. And by doing it this way, you really you can get these rails aligned to one another a lot easier without having those binding issues. So I probably don't have to do both. The one will be good enough. And I just run it back and forth a little bit. And I am going to have to take these stoppers off and just be real careful that I don't slide it all the way off. Okay. And if I do, I'll end the stream early because I'll start crying, because then I'll have to go and chase little balls everywhere. And once again, I'm just moving it back and forth. I had tightened the front one down already, So I'm just going to go one at a time and tighten them down just a little bit. And then just go back and forth. Make sure I'm not binding. And then go ahead and crank down on them. And then again, before I forget, I will not pop these ones back on. Let me grab some of the rubber nubs. So the plastic ones that come with them, there we go, they clip into the hole and then into the groove on each side. And the problem that has is when you're moving this thing around, it will stop it, but I'm going to go ahead and put the rubber nubs in, because that way it will stop the carriage, but it doesn't catch on this bed. There's very, very little clearance between the bed and the extrusion. Here we go. So that'll still allow it to move, and it won't hang early in case I need some of that movement or that clearance capability. But like I said, you'll notice there is very little clearance between the bed and stuff. And when I mounted these, there was a little bit of play in my printed guide rods, and I pushed the rails down versus up. So if I pulled them up, it would have given me a little bit more room and play here. But I do kind of like, as long as I don't have any issues with the belts, I do really like having that as low as possible. Yeah, that's something I do need to work on, Rob. Like I said, the camera I'm using for the bench camera right now is a Logitech C270, which is great to have, you know, on a printer when you're just looking for spaghetti or what have you. But as far as a bench camera, I think I really need something that's kind of like the 922 that I have at the face camera that'll give me a little bit better resolution. Oh, I'm still dropping the internet occasionally. So the next piece we're going to do is the Y motor mount. The Y motor mount's pretty neat. It's two pieces. Makes it easy to get in and put the screws in that way. It does have a little ridge piece here, which makes a key that really helps to lock that in, which is nice. So yeah, we'll go ahead and get this installed on the rear extrusion. And for that, we are going to use M5 by 10 nuts, or excuse me, M5 by 10 bolts. And you did see some heat inserts here. It'll mount like this, so these heat inserts are on the bottom, and that will allow you to secure the center section into this piece to help lock everything in to make that rear skirt more stable. And one of the things that Steve Builds brought up was a lot of the changes that were made to modify the parts for the underwire conversion. The designer, Dark Dog, had actually made all the parts to use button head screws for all the M5 screws, and the typical Voron screw bomb uses a lot of button head screws. So that was one of the things that Steve had suggested, was adding some clearance to enable the use of button head screws that most Voron builders would already have on hand. And then one of the other things I did off stream to prepare for this was going through and using a reamer to ream all the holes. Hey Subsector, how's it going? Glad you could join us today. Subsector streams. Royal Nomi uses BC stream, but it's more like BC has a stream that's named for him that Royal Nomi runs. He just gets to show up occasionally. I know John Strand streams because I was on his stream last night. And Titan's Revenge streams. He normally streams during the weekday. Yeah, pretty much. You know, I'll just say, Roland Nomi, thank you for letting BC come out and play every once in a while. Hey, Westry, how's it going? How are things going on the farm? Are the animals doing good? Whoops. Good. Frankie needs some TLC. Yeah, BC, just buckle down and get the schoolwork done. I know it's a pain in the butt. I know I wound up for my master's degree having to pay for a whole other semester to complete a class. So that was an expensive class. I went through Western Governors University. And yeah, if you slack off and you miss your deadlines, you wind up redoing coursework. Mia's getting love from Grandma? Good. I hope Grandma spoils her. Make sure Grandma gives Mia treats for me, okay? Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, the President Dean list is a really good accomplishment there, BC. Yeah, you were streaming your Delta printing your squares for your chessboard, right, John Strand? Um, and once again, we talked about this earlier. So this is the actual Y motor that came off this. This is the Creality 4234. God, that is really washed out. Do it this way. So it's the Creality 4234 motor with a pressed on pulley. When I did Red Dragon over here, which is the other Ender 3 Switchwire mod I did, I used the same Y motor, and it was just good enough. The belt is right up against the outer edge here. So what I'm going to do is try that again, and if the belt lines up well, we'll keep it. If not, we'll pull this one out, and I do have a spare Creality 4240 motor, and we'll put this one in. It has a little bit longer shaft, and then we'll just have to go to a regular pulley. I don't have my pulleys and belts in yet. I had ordered a lot of parts through KB3D, and the motion kit, which is the GT2 pulleys and the belts, the stealth burner wiring harness, the stealth burner LED harness, the key back, which is the basically the strain relief for holding the gantry up, and the another set of bearings to make the pulleys, the pulley stack, were coming in that. It was being held up waiting on the Lineo wiring harness from Spain to get in. So I called them yesterday. They have shipped the rest of the order to me, so that'll come in, because that last wiring harness is one of the last things that goes on. So that'll ship out next week. Yeah, longer shafts are good, John Strand. It'll give me the ability to line the belt up better. Yeah, you know, BC, that's funny that you mentioned being able to focus more. When I first got out and I was starting to take, when I first graduated from high school and I was going to community college to try and get some of my prereq stuff out for architecture, yeah, I wasn't motivated to sit in class every night and focus on the homework and everything. And then I got sidetracked, went in the military, and started doing cybersecurity in the military, which is what I have my bachelor's and my master's degree in. And I really found that starting my bachelor's degree in my 30s was actually better for me, and I was able to focus more on getting the schoolwork done and focusing on that. And I think it was just, you know, you're a little bit older and wiser, and you know, when you're paying for it, you're not in on like a scholarship or stuff like that. It just means a little bit more to you, and you focus a little bit more because you now have a better understanding of money, and you're making some type of trade-off to spend that money. So, yeah. And this is, I'm trying to figure out, I can't remember which screws that I used on these, so I'm just trying to figure out which size screws to use. So let me get down here. So it looks like we're going to be using M3 by 40 screws to mount the motor. And when you mount the motor on here, set that down here. When you mount the motor, your wires need to come out the front, because the hole for this is right in front of the motor. The hole that goes down into the deck to feed the things through goes right in the front. Oh yeah, yeah, definitely Darth Golem. Just get one started and then work the rest. So what's everybody doing today? Are you just chilling out? Are you doing any printing today? Hey, Aaron F. Geared, how's it going? Thank you for joining. Oh, fully understandable, Nordic Skull. Coffee is a must. Just chilling, Stephen Poole. Okay, so what I'll do here in a minute, we're coming up on the 12 o'clock hour. I was only going to stream 2 hours today, partly because I'm apparently got to go to the home improvement store and get some stuff for the garden. So wife's going to put me to work today. Oh, that's awesome, Aaron F. Geared. You're working on the Tiny M. Remind me real fast, is that the 2 dot, like the Voron 2 build on the V0 platform, or is that the Trident style build on the, because the Trident style I thought was a salad fork. It's the 2020 version of the V0. Okay. That would be nice. I love my V0. I cannot stand those 1515 rails, because if you forget a nut, you're disassembling everything to get it back in there. You know, Royal Nomi, I wish it was raining today. I don't think I have any rain. It's supposed to rain tomorrow. So yeah, that's going to drive it even more to me having to get out and do some things in the yard today. So we have some blueberry bushes that we need to get actually planted in the ground this year. And Jen wants to start, my wife wants to start getting the, like the root vegetables and stuff like that sown in the ground. So we're going to have to try and get some of that stuff done. I will go just a tad bit longer just to get the front piece on here, because that will also give me a prevention from this thing coming off the front. And in order to get the front piece put on, the Y idler on this is an adjustable idler. So we've got to get an M3 nut pressed in there. Sorry for ducking off stream. I just got to get my grab an M3 nut. Yeah, get an M3 nut pressed in there, and the easier way we'll do this for now. To do the whole, apparently I didn't read this one. Oh, thanks, Dark Column. Yeah, this, okay, it seems like I still am dropping in and out for some people. I really apologize for that. Yeah, like I said, my network service out here leaves a bit to be desired. I'm not major rural, but I am... I'm out there where I don't have fiber and things like that, so it could be Twitch's fault too, or OBS to Twitch. Who knows? I make sure that I'm not running like anything major on the computer. I've got everything else shut off that I can. Not that I should have a problem. I think I've got a multi-core, like 16-core processor, so that shouldn't be a problem. What I'm doing here is just trying to use a screw to pull this nut down, and it's going to be even more interesting because normally I will go through and chase the holes with either a reamer or a drill just to make sure that the M3 bolts will go in nicely in the M3s and so forth, and then I don't have to crank on them. And okay, yeah, that did work good. Alright, that's pushed down there and squared. Next we're going to take, I believe this is an M5 by 12, I believe. Let me double check that real fast. Yeah, an M5 by, might have been a 16. Where's my little thing? I guess if I thought about it, I just used my measuring thing. So M5 by 20. And two of our, yeah, so I picked this up at Murph this year, Darth Column, and you know, I always wear shirts that, oh, dang it. I always try and wear shirts that are 3D printer related, or if not, it's going to be a veteran related shirt. So, see if we can't get that down there and keep it down there. I also need some washers. Ten petaflops per second. Gonna be a heck of a computer. How much is a petaflop? A lot. I think like it goes terabytes, then petabytes, so it should be teraflops and then petaflops, so oh, okay. I've gone to Murph the last 2 years. 2 years ago was really, really wet. With all, and it wasn't raining, it was condensation from being so darn hot. So what I'm doing here is it's a standard bearing stack, which is washer, bearing, bearing, washer. So I've got my screw there. I'm just going to put the washer on. And when I do the washers, there's a smooth side and a rough side to the washer, right? So the smooth side I put towards the bearing flange, and the rough side I'll put towards the printed part. And then this is the one that's always a pain, is getting that last piece in. Come on. Going a bit too far. There we go. All right, and there is no bolt on that. It free floats as the pin. Make sure your bearing is moving, which it is. And then this whole piece slides in. And then you'll put a screw in it. I'm going to put a 40 millimeter screw in here. I don't believe that's the one I'm going to go with. But I'm doing that because I learned that trying to get the give me just a second. I learned from the last build that if you try and if you've got this pulled in and you try and get your belt through there, it's kind of a pain in the butt. So it's nice to be able to push that piece out, get the belt routed through there, and then you can pull it in, take this screw out and put in the shorter screw, because this is going to be way, way, way too long, right? Yeah, if you've got a computer that's doing petaflops, you're in supercomputer range. Yeah, so like I said, that's in there temporarily at the moment. We'll replace this bolt on next stream when we go to route the belts and stuff. But right now it's 2 more M5x10 screws go on the bottom here. And we will mount this. And these will go in the bottom 2 screws there, or 2 holes. I thought it went in the bottom 2 holes. And just go ahead and bolt those down. And I think that's where we are going to leave it today. We will pick this back up, like I said, next Saturday. Or excuse me, not next Saturday. We will pick this up on Tuesday's stream. And that's going to be Tuesday night from 5 to 7.